It almost always helps when you take a smart bulb and you attach it to a hub or another device that assists with control. It just makes things more reliable and a little bit easier for us to manage. So today I'm going to show you 5 smart bulbs that require something to be paired with it. And I'm also going to teach you a little bit about Bluetooth, and I'm going to show you some ZigBee and Z-Wave options that I think are very important in the market today. I did manage to go out and get a sponsor for today's video, and this box doesn't look like a Yeelight box, but it is. And Yeelight is our sponsor today because they're bringing out their new M2 light bulb. And there's a number of interesting things about this, but it all kind of circles around the fact that it has to be paired with a Google Home speaker or a Google Nest speaker. And initially, that direct connection seems like a bit of a drawback because number one, you lose the ability to control these light bulbs through Miss A or Amazon's voice assistant, and you also have lowered your overall reliability a little bit because what you've done is you've taken the reliability of the Google Home speaker and then you've added in the reliability of that connection. So on first blush, it looks a little less reliable, but what's been interesting about this is the benefits have seemed to outweigh any drawback there. So the first example is the control goes local at that time, and that means that this is extremely fast. When you request the Google Home speaker to change this light bulb, it happens pretty much instantaneously. The other thing is because it is local, it's actually more reliable in many situations versus cloud connected bulbs. So that became a really interesting benefit. The other thing about that circles around the app and the setup process, which was extremely easy as long as I had a Google Home speaker that was near enough to Bluetooth connect, because it was instantly found in the Google Home application and I never used the Yeelight application whatsoever. Now, as soon as I had this set up, I wanted to test the big thing. What happens when I unplug the Google Home speaker that this is connected to? And I was expecting a pretty big failure here, but I was pleasantly surprised by what happened. Now, it took about 30 seconds to a minute, and then what happened was my bulb connected to the nearest Google Nest hub. I actually had a Google Nest hub nearby. It connected through Bluetooth to that, and then it was controllable again. So they automatically go and search out that connection, and it happens pretty seamlessly. The M1 from Yeelight was their original Wi-Fi connected color bulb, and it was great at a lot of things, but it had some drawbacks in terms of how it produced color. And I would say to this day, sometimes I find it a little bit bright in terms of the colors and a little bit off in terms of the colors it produces when I'm working through the Google Assistant specifically. Now, what's happened because these two companies have worked on this together is that you have almost perfect color profiles coming out of the M2 bulb. And if you go to a smart display, one of the Google Assistant ones, you actually get the color that you choose on that panel to come out of this M2 light bulb. Plus, if in the end you just want a really bright light, well, the M2 has a significant improvement in terms of that upper end brightness. So you can really tone it down or you can really brighten up your space. And with all that, I'm using the voice control or Google routines. I'm getting that fast response, but what I don't get really fast is the light coming on and blasting me. So I'm not just getting a click on, click off. It's a slow dim to turn off and a slow rise to turn on, and that's just a little nuance, but it doesn't shock you when your lights come on. Now, the next bulb I want to tell you about is something I've been getting a lot of comments on the channel, because I had a video a while ago that showed Sengled working with Amazon's voice assistant, and that was the old ZigBee version of their bulbs, and that was the old ZigBee Echo Plus. Now, this is another Bluetooth bulb, and it was so funny when I twisted this in in. I had the little power on routine, and I was sitting there and I was waiting to see some flashing or something, and then suddenly my Miss A application said the bulb was set up. So then I take my phone, I tap on the notice, and I go into the Miss A application and it can't quite find it. So I wait about a minute and then I can find the bulb. It's in the list of devices in my Miss A application, and I've done nothing. That is the setup process for this new Sengled Bluetooth bulb. Now, what I didn't think of in that moment was, which device is this connecting to? Because I kind of expected a little bit of a setup process like Google had done there, and I was hoping for that failover thing. But what happened here is it connected to the closest Amazon Echo speaker that I had, and I didn't have to turn on Bluetooth or anything on any of those devices. It just did, and I couldn't change which device it was connected to. So instant setup process, but I have no control after the fact. And then when I unplugged that speaker, there was no failover process, and so you're really actually tied to that single Echo device, and that's a bit of a problem for me. If you're okay with it, then I'll just tell you that after a couple of days, this bulb actually stopped working, and I couldn't bring it back without some serious effort. The other type of light bulb that we can talk about is the kind that pairs with hubs, and that's what I have on the desk here. That's the lit up stuff. Now, those are usually communicating through ZigBee or Z-Wave. And over here, I have two ZigBee bulbs, and here I have a Z-Wave bulb. Now, I actually put a couple of Sylvania lights on the table right now. And the biggest piece of news from Sylvania is that they were stopping the ZigBee hub that they have in 2021. So basically they're not going to provide any more updates to that, and it's essentially a hub that's going to die. But that doesn't mean that their ZigBee products are bad and that you shouldn't go out and buy them, because these will continue to work well after that hub is dead. And what's also very interesting is I'm finding great deals on them right now. And so if you can still buy either the A19 bulb here or the BR30 or really any of their ZigBee bulbs, I'm finding really great prices. And I mean, it was half of what I expected for the BR30 bulbs, less than half actually, and about half of what I expected for an A19. So I was loving the deals I was getting, and the connectivity to Samsung SmartThings, Hubitat, and really any other ZigBee hub is going to be great because these paired seamlessly every time, and I got a bunch of them. So this is, I think, a really good option right now. Now, the drawback for these versus some other color bulbs, I would say, is just that the color production isn't perfect. Now, it's very good, and on a daily basis, you're not going to be upset about any of it. But if you want them to go really dim, well, you're not going to get that. This is the Sylvania BR30 at 1% and in an orange color. Now, that's not what I would call 1% of the full range. But they're connecting locally to my Samsung SmartThings hub, which makes them really fast in terms of control. And of course, on Hubitat, they would be local too. But over here with the Illumin from Inovelli, I'm not getting that local connection to a Samsung SmartThings hub, and that's made them a little slower to react. Now, the color production though, when you compare these two, they're both in orange and they're both at 1%. This is a highly accurate color bulb, very similar to what we were talking about with the M2 here. These are really similar light bulbs in terms of how they produce color. The other thing that I really like, again, similar to the M2, is that it's a slow rise to turn on and a slow fall to turn off. So it makes them a very pleasant bulb to have. And actually, I bought 10 of these refurbished from Inovelli, and I've seen them do this a number of times with a number of their products, and it becomes a really great deal in that moment. So this is another thing for you to kind of watch and just pay attention to, because when Inovelli did that, I grabbed those 10 and I've been really happy ever since. Now, I think you can tell with these hub related options, I was laser focused on pricing, and that is because I think that in many cases we're spending a little bit too much on our smart home gear, and one of the worst perpetrators of that is Philips Hue. And while I love Philips Hue, I don't love the price. And so on screen right now is 3 options that you can go and are every bit as good as Philips Hue, but half the price. So go check out that video. Otherwise, guys, thanks for watching. And of course, don't hate, automate.